the Intellectual Podcast. This is episode 4. So, as normal, I start off with a story and then we get everyone's opinions on it. So, a little while ago, my mom had a spiritual encounter. So, we live in my mom's childhood home, and I live in the room that her mom or my grandma used to live in. So, one night, I was out with some friends, and she ended up sleeping in my room. So my dad was on the couch that night because he was staying up watching like 300 or something. And then one night he heard, "Sorry, wrong room." Super late at night, clear as day. And then my mom, same night, felt a hand on her back. No one else was in the house. And she says that is what her mom used to do to comfort her. They didn't talk about this till like 2, 3 weeks, and they described the exact same thing perfectly. Well, not too long ago, probably like 2 weeks ago, my mom comes to me and says, "Hey, were you in my room last night?" I was like, "No, I was in my room the whole night, dead asleep." Well, she says she rolled over and saw a figure about my height in her room. That was the first night. Then, the second night, she saw a shadow figure is the best way to describe it at the corner of her eye, and it scared her, and she jumped up, and she saw it move really fast. So, if I saw this, first off, the house would be burned down. It would be gone. There'd be no more house. My mom genuinely believes that her mom is in the house. Genuinely believes there's something. My dad has encountered it. My brother says he woke up one night and looked out the window. He has a very, very large window in his room. And he says he saw what looked to be a Civil War soldier walk across our front yard. Transparent, old, tattered clothes in the Civil War era. I haven't seen nothing, not a single thing, heard a single thing. And anything, if I did hear it, I say it's an older house. That's what it is. So, I'm gonna go with this. Do you think anything spiritual, the sightings of ghosts, spirits, angels, demons, any of that could be real?
Yeah, so I I'm gonna be honest, I don't believe your brother, like whatsoever. I think that is just way too just random for it to work out whatsoever. But if your parents are saying the same exact story from different points in your house, not even talking about it for like what you say, 2 weeks, that like I trust your parents. Like I barely even know them, but I still I trust them with that. You know, your mom's very nice. So I'm gonna like she has no reason to lie about that, and I feel like your dad doesn't have a reason to lie about that either. I think I don't know. I definitely trust them, but I don't know about the other people because I am very skeptical with this because it's so easy to lie about. Like you can have a vent blowing air in your house that makes a door close a little bit loud. Like on my old house before we sold it, my parents' room it had a vent blowing straight onto the door. And if you cracked the door, it would slam shut. Now, middle of the night, yeah, that seems creepy. But if you look around, you see the vent, you figure out where it's blowing at, it's blowing right to their door. And I feel like some people take like that vent and start running with it, or take the door and start running with it, just like, hey, the door slammed, something's in here. Like, I'm very skeptical about other people. For me to truly believe it, I would have to see it myself.
Okay, that makes sense. Do you know what a Divot box is?
I do not.
Okay. So if you're skeptical, we'll see if you'll do this. Do a diffic box, in other words, is a demon in a box. Okay. This priest goes to someone and has an exorcism on him. Then put the demon in like a cigar box and they put wax around it and it holds them. They put like crystals and sticks and whatever in there too. So it's said if you open this box, demon attaches. You're gonna get bad luck, car crashes, every terrible things happen. You're skeptical. Would you open the box to prove this isn't legit?
A trillion times no. I'm never opening the box, okay? Like, yes, I'm skeptical of it, but I'm not taking that chance. Okay? Like, more so skeptical of the people and their stories. Like, I can believe to some extent that some stuff has happened. Some, like ghostly stuff has happened, but I'm gonna be honest, I don't think everyone who says that they've seen like a ghost or something is right. Like your brother. I'm sorry to your brother if he's listening at any point. I'm sorry. I don't believe you on that.
Yeah, that's similar to what I think. I think there's there could and very well could be something out there that we can explain. But I think 95% of it we can explain. And when it's at dark and you're in the woods, them shadows start playing tricks on you.
Mhm.
It's late at night, it's an old house, it's settling. You start hearing creaks and things. I think a
Mhm.
lot of it can be explained. Or when you move around too fast, you start seeing shadows at the corner of your eyes. So that I think that a lot of it can be explained.
Yeah, like I've been in your house like one time, and I can already tell like I can't do like a few nights on that. Like 2 nights most probably, and that is with your dog in there. Yeah, she's a scaredy cat, but she looks mean.
Yeah.
So I I'm still not doing it.
I guess I'm just built different. I guess I'm just built like a tank. But I do think there is a part of things we cannot explain. With science, with math, with what we know is possible. We can explain it. I mean, it's from everything from lights in the sky to random disappearances to hearing voices and knowing what you heard. I think there's something we can't explain. So if there's a light up in the sky, have you ever heard of ball lightning? Okay. So ball lightning is exactly what it sounds like. It's a ball
Mhm.
of lightning and it moves around in the sky in random directions and it looks like a daggone UFO. Okay, that can explain some UFO stuff. There are some other things that you can explain. And Area 51, the giant plane that looks like a triangle, that was tested at Area 51. So you can explain some of that. There's a handful of things that we can't explain.
Is that stealth bomber? That stealth bomber?
Yes. So there's a handful of stuff we can't explain. And I think that directly correlates to ghosty spiritual realm stuff.
Mhm.
And, when I go to sleep at night, there's only two things I throw on TV. Number one, Animal Planet, Steve Irwin. Number two, ghost hunt videos.
You're a psychopath.
Absolutely.
Mm,
So I wake up,
I don't like you.
I
I don't
wake
like you.
up to
This is
someone.
the end of our friendship.
Yeah,
I'm done.
yeah. I'll wake up and some dude will be on a Ouija board talking to a demon. He'd be like, "Are you with us?" And they'd be like, "Yes." So I don't necessarily believe in a lot of the ghost hunting shows, YouTube
Yeah.
channels.
Those are mainly just for views, for watchers, just to make money. I'm not like trying to discredit them, but if you watch some of them, it seems like they're more just played to like, oh, did you hear that? Did you hear that? Just trying to play to like entertainment. That's what TV is.
Right. But I do think there's something to it. And the part that I can't really wrap my head around is there's always haunted places, right? But the haunted places are always the sketchiest places you've ever heard of, and they should be scary, right? Tuberculosis hospital, 100,000 people died. Terrible place. People got these they took an ice pick through their eye into their brain to supposedly cure tuberculosis. It has a fancy name. I forgot the name. But anyway, and then they would die. They thought putting them out in like the ice and snow would help them. Oh yeah, weird stuff. So there's a place out in Kentucky like that. It's like supposedly crazy haunted, one of the most places in the US. Why don't we ever like find like a beach like Miami beach haunted?
Right. Like, there's a crap ton of people down in Miami, and I'm sure there's been 1,000, if not more, like homicides, murders, like hundreds of thousands. Why don't we see any like ghostly places down there? Any supposedly like haunted places? It's always just like an old school, an old hospital, super creepy places, but it's never just like right around the block. And if it is, no one believes the person.
Yeah. So I think if we say the haunting stuff is real, I think there's something we don't understand about it. So with my rabbit hole of looking into ghost hunting videos, what I've heard different people talk is that there's this energy, right? Energy cannot be created or destroyed, just rearranged.
Bringing out that like ninth grade science, if not sooner. I see you.
That's right. So they say that there's this energy when it comes to life forms, like this, if you want to call it a soul of some sort.
Right.
Okay. So they say if you have a controlled energy of bad, just sucky, tuberculosis hospital, the Holocaust, Auschwitz, right? Sucky times. They create this energy of just sucky. And it just circulates like a tornado. And it traps either this energy or the physical souls there, which that seems like a very far stretch, in my opinion. I think there's a little some stuff we don't understand. And when we supposedly see these things, we're either communicating with energy or the beings that are now in soul energy, ghostly, other realm form. And that is what we see or communicate with. What's your thoughts on
Hmm.
that?
I feel like that's kind of a stretch, at least for me. I think that's more of a stretch to say that it basically just like gets captured there. I could see more just like like you're in limbo kind of thing rather than just it gets trapped. But I do find that interesting because I didn't know that before.
Because this is where it gets also very interesting. A lot of people depict shadow figures, seeing them at night. So a
Mhm.
lot of sleep paralysis, things like that. It can be depicted. So this is how sleep paralysis works. So when you go to sleep and your body jolts, you
Yep.
awake because you're falling. Well, that's because your muscles woke up faster than your brain did. It's usually at the same time.
Right.
Well, sleep paralysis, your eye or your brain wakes up faster than your muscles, and so it still puts you in a dream state, and you can have dreams around your room of like crazy things happening, and you're still in a dreamlike state. Well, I think a lot of shadow figures and things can be explained like that, but maybe like 1%,
Mhm.
0.10% we can't explain. And I think that's fair to say there's like 0.01% stuff. I don't know what that is, right? Something wild. But the part that interests me, especially the Christian religion, some of the other religions, they all kind of have this weird lore of ghosty thingies, demons, angels, I'm not going to say extraterrestrial, but like godly beings of a non-humans, godly like beings,
Yeah.
angels, demons, gods, whatever.
Divine people.
That's a good way. Yeah, that's a good way to put it. But they all have these things, and there's a way of communicating with them. Some of them, you got a prophet, right? Some of them, you have an oracle. Some of them, you have the Pope or whoever. Different ways.
Mhm.
But it's really interesting that the Catholic Church has a whole department that goes and has exorcisms. an entire department of Catholic Church is dedicated to going around the world and stopping exorcisms.
Yeah, but I mean, like, part of like, I'm not trying to like disagree or like try and put down anyone of like Catholics or Christians, but their main thing, from my perspective, is that you like trying to basically scare you, like saying hell and stuff, and to try and get you to devote yourself to God. So I feel like that, to me, like I don't want to sound harsh or anything, but that seems kind of in line to me. If their main thing is just trying to scare you, like with hell, then they're gonna devote an entire thing to be like, hey, hell is real. We got these guys to perform exorcisms because hell is real. So you better watch your back or else you're gonna go to hell. So go devote yourself to our God.
Yeah, I think a lot of it can be explained. Some of the people could be faking it or having multiple personality disorders. Like I think some of it can probably be explained, but I still think there might be there might be 0.0111 something percent that we can't explain everything going on there.
But yeah, no, I'm definitely with you that there is at least like that small little percent that we don't completely know. Like that's why I say I'm skeptical, because I do think that there are some stories that are 100% true, but I think that it's just gone so mainstream and it's just basically popular now to be able to be like, hey, I have a ghost in my house. I know someone who had a ghostly encounter. That it discredits everything because there a lot of people are can easily make something up with all that popularity.
Yeah, I would definitely say I'm skeptical, but I lean on the more side of there's something out there that we don't know the full story of, right? If it's religion, we can explain a lot of things, like what's going on now, how the world works. Once you turn the light switch on someone, we don't know factually a thing. Factually, we can theorize, we can use stories of past people, and we can kind of try to look at similarities, but we don't know. So I do think there very well could be something. And I'll tell you what it would take for me to believe 1000% that there is something out there, if you want to call it a different realm, entity, energy, whatever you want to call it. This is what it would take me. We go to some sketchy place called Waverly Hills. It's like that tuberculosis hospital I was talking about. Sketchy looking place. It looks crazy. It looks like it should be in a Batman movie. All right. So anyway, we go in there, go around, we take our little ghost gear. I want to take a Home Depot flashlight. Walk in. I just barely turn it, so all you got to do is tap it on or tap it on. Let's set it on one end of the hallway. The other end of the hallway, put another Home Depot flashlight. I'm gonna stand in the middle. Everyone in this place is in the middle with me. No one else is anywhere. And I say, if anyone's here, turn on the flashlight. If that flashlight freaking goes on, I'm gonna lose my crap. And then maybe you call it a coincidence or coinky dinky, right? Then this is where you sell me. We have an intelligent conversation between flashlights, yes and no questions, for 3 to 5 minutes. That is possible. Instant believer.
I'm with you, but I don't know. I'm kind of against the flashlight use. Like I understand its purpose, but I think like I just feel like it's played out. Like every single like TV show or video on YouTube or whatever that dedicates itself to going to haunted places always uses a flashlight. So I'm a skeptical but with that, but I do agree with you that like I need to be there. I need to know absolutely everything before, everything after, everything during to where it's undoubtedly something that I cannot explain for me to finally like truly believe.
Yeah, what I was going with the flashlights is there's some different methods that it would be acceptable, but I would be more skeptical. So let's say you did knocking, right? Knock
Mm.
once for yes, knock twice for no.
Yeah, you can't do knocking because literally anyone can just easily either stomp their foot or knock on a wall right next to them. You can't do that.
Right. So that one can be disproven. There's this thing called a REM pod. Fancy word for beeper device if you get close. Right? Again, let's put it at the end of the hall. Say it malfunctions. It randomly starts beeping. Beep, 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 beep. I feel like that's a little bit easier to disprove. It comes down to a few things, right? There's one called a music box. It's like a motion sensor. You walk by it, it plays a creepy crap little sound effect when you walk by it. I just think the flashlight, I just feel like it would be the hardest to disprove.
I definitely agree that it could be like the hardest to disprove. I just I got a personal thing against the flashlight. That's all it is. It's just so played out. It's cliche, honestly.
I could see that. All right. You said you wouldn't play with a divot box. I wouldn't touch a divot box, wouldn't go near it. But I do. I do want to potentially I would be willing to fund this experiment. I will buy 5 divot boxes, 10 however many divot boxes it takes. Someone is willing to open all the divot boxes. I would be willing to fund that experiment.
Okay, so you heard it here first. We will personally fund anyone who wants to find out if these things will work, but we would require for you to send actual evidence that it works. Like you can give us your name or whatever, so then we know, like in your area. So then if something happens to you and you end up on their news in the local area, we can find out. So then we know.
So this is my psychotic thoughts. You know, when I get my quadrillion of dollars, imagine there's this serial killer. No one likes him. He's on death row. I take him. They let me have him. Stick him in some glass box somewhere in the middle of a desert, enclosed warehouse. Put divot boxes, and then I put boxes with food in other boxes, so we can't tell the difference. And he opens it. There's only one thing in the other thing with the boxes, other than the boxes with food and the divot boxes. There's a journal. You just write his thoughts in the journal. And we film them for however long this process takes till he opens all of them. And I want to know if something crazy happens. Maybe it's immoral, but no one cares about the dude. And we will know some crazy stuff really were to happen. Okay, then it goes to the crazy thing. If people aren't willing to open a divot box, right? Because they're scared a demon will latch on to them. Then you're playing with the idea of demons are real. Could people previously have demons attached to them? How does that affect our law system? How does that affect religion? It goes in a wild rabbit hole.
Okay, so before we go down that rabbit hole, I want to say I like your idea. We round up all the pedophiles, and that is their punishment. They have to open up these divot boxes.
50-50 shot.
And then
or
no, no, no. Don't even give them the food. You don't give them the option. Okay, they're pedophiles. They're some of the worst people on the planet, if not the worst. All right. So you give them the divot boxes. You say you can open it and then you can leave. We won't do anything to you. But we have to like give them like a monitor or something, like shoot in their wrist or something, like a GPS or something. So then you can track them and then you can watch as everything unfolds to see if something goes down. And then if something goes down, that's when you hit the rabbit hole. If not, and plus, if something does go down, you're not losing anyone. Like I'm sorry, I'm being honest. Like it's a pedophile. You're not losing anyone.
so it's Epstein's Island meets The Conjuring meets Suicide Squad.
Yes, it's cool.
I love this idea.
I mean, like, it's a perfect way for our justice, our legal system, to actually like get these pedophiles to where they get a sentence that they deserve.
But think about this. Think about how insane it would be. Okay, you take your idea. And undoubtedly, every time someone opens this box, they've had a fairly simple life, okay, within luck. I mean, they're crazy people, but like their luck is fine up until this point. They've had perfect health. They've just done some weird things, really screwed up weird things, right? Okay,
Hmm.
up until this point. And it's the day they open that box, every single person who's opened this box, crap hits the fan every time. I feel like that would be undeniable scientific proof that there's something going on here.
There's undoubtedly something going on that we don't understand.
Okay. This is where it gets wild. Okay. So then you start talking about like people like freaking witchcraft. Then you start talking about witch doctors, right? Like I don't necessarily believe in that. Like I say a strong no. Strong, confident no. But I'm not gonna go cuss out a witch doctor in the middle of Africa either.
Mhm.
That's not gonna happen because like the small percentage chance that's legit, I'm gonna get screwed up, right? But there is saying something about doctors and those type of places. So, like, let's say, like the Amazon, a lot of the different trees, that's what we use for our medicine. So they would have like, let's just go over here, and they got like Neosporin, the equivalent, up in this tree somewhere. Well, they have these hallucinogens, and maybe they use those and they speak with the spirit realm, right? The Nazis used to do this. Really weird story. Okay. This huh?
Yeah.
But this gets wild. So the Nazis were on the brink of technology on the highest level.
Mhm.
Okay. Well, this is where they said this is how they said it happened. Is it factual? Mm, but they were about to come out with the atomic bomb. They came out with things that looked like UFOs before we even knew about them. So they said they would take basically like the craziest acid you can think, and they would put you on the brink of death, stop your heart, and you would go visit these little elf creatures. These elf creatures would tell you about these great things. They would say, "Hey, if you put this little liquid mercury in this thing, it will do all this crazy stuff." They bring you back to life and they say, "Hey, bud, what'd you hear?" And they tell you everything. It would work. So say 5% of that happens. 5%. Not all of it. 5%. One dude did it, saw some crazy crap. It worked. One time. One time it happened. Okay. Who was he talking to? Was he talking to his inner self? Was he talking to spirits? Was he talking to a godly-like being? Was he talking to demons? Who was he talking to?
I feel like it would be more closely just like himself in a way, because I know when you're like on your deathbed, basically, and your brain starts dying essentially, it it just starts doing random stuff. It starts going a little bit crazy because you're dying and it doesn't know what to do. It's trying to basically save itself or just trying to basically just be like, hey, it's okay. We'll throw this up. We're get this over here. We'll make it seem okay, but then in reality, it's not. And I feel like it could be just more closely, just like he's just that's something his brain is just pushing towards him. And if you're saying like 5% of the time one guy does it, everyone else it doesn't work, I would say that it's just luck of the draw with whatever he came up with.
Yeah. So yeah, you're right. That your brain tries to put you at ease, and that's what a lot of people try to
Hmm.
explain when they try to see the light, when they're dying. But I do, and there's theories of this happening in Silicon Valley in the early days, but I don't know, if that even happened. But we're just gonna say it didn't. But maybe it did. Conspiracy, right? But I do think there's something to be said. Okay, let's just hypothetically go and say angels are real, demons are real. There's a spirit realm. Think about this for a second. If demons are real and angels are real, think about, let's say someone kills someone. Someone kills somebody. Boom, dead. They can say they're insane right now. They can do that. Less sentence, whatever happens. Hitler's bad guy. Stalin, bad guy. Genghis Khan, bad guy. Did they have demons in them? Was it a demon or was it Genghis Khan? Was it a demon or was it whoever serial killer in the list? And how does that affect their sentencing and the law? Because the person themselves could have been inherently good, but the demon inside of them could have been doing all the crazy stuff.
Yeah, so I going off of that, well, not entirely, but I do think you do have to make the distinction between devil and ghost. So I think those are going to be two different things. Because if you're talking about like some devil, then you're associating that basically with Christianity, Catholicism, and that's basically just that type of religion, that's it. And that's also proving then angels, God, and all that. But I think saying more just ghosts would be more of a correct term, and that it would just be because then it's more of like that quote unquote soul that we were talking about earlier. But going with what you said about saying that it is like a devil type figure or some demon, then that would horribly screw up our entire justice system, our entire legal system. Everything that we know of the world would just flip over because you would get crazy people who are serial killers or even pedophiles, like I was talking about earlier, who are just going to go out, do this horrible stuff, come back and say, hey, I was possessed. That wasn't me, you know? And then maybe pay off a priest to say that they did an exorcism for the guy to get off. And it becomes a very, very sticky situation when you start counting for that.
Yeah. See, I don't know what would work. If you throw some holy water on him, say a little prayer or two, or throw some salt in his face. I don't know what would work. Throw a crucifix or something. I don't know. But what percentage? Let's play the game. Demons are real. They're real. They're out there. They come up to the earth and they latch onto people. And sometimes they make them do screwed up things. Maybe they don't go after powerful people. Maybe president dictators don't have demons in them. Maybe they go and they control one person's life and they just make it sucky. And ever so often they commit a crime, a very, very bad crime. What percentage do you think if demons would be real? You got all the people that commit killings and rapes and murder and all this crazy stuff, right? What percentage do you think it would be? Demons are real. They would take up a percentage of the crazy stuff.
I think it would be extremely low, but also a little bit more than what we would think. Because my thought process here is that they're demons, so it's not going to be a lot, but at the same time, they're demons and they want to screw us over. Or, going with just like the basic, oh, demons are trying to screw you over lore or whatever. It So you have to account for that as well. But I can't see a lot of it being like that. I think most stuff is just driven by the person and their upbringing, what in their environment, however that was.
Yeah. I think, if every court hearing we had and some dude killed 20 people, we had an exorcism right there. Boom. I'd say there might be a chance. I say it wouldn't be a bad idea. Try it out one time. He starts tripping out.
For
eh,
what? Just like throwing holy water on him or something, like trying to perform an
Yeah,
exorcism?
without him knowing.
What if they start faking it?
Just one time.
Well,
Somehow do it without him know. I
okay.
don't know how. Just do it one time, right? And let's just say you prove it. I think that the demons are going to be a being that is very intelligent, way smarter than humans, right? Angels are gonna be way smarter. God is like freaking insanely smart. We can't wrap our head around it.
Top tier.
Right. Can't wrap your head around it. But if the devil runs the demons, right? They used to be angels, fell from heaven, they're now demons. If that's the case. These things are really freaking smart. And if they know that they latch onto this person and there's like this little puppet, well, I feel like they wouldn't want to give up the puppet, right? So they would make other people do the stupid stuff, get those people caught. Nothing would ever happen to them, right? They would never get like, that was an exorcism, right? It's just like cult leaders. That's a good way to look at it. You got the cult leader. The cult leader's doing all the crazy stuff, right? He's behind the scenes puppeteering everybody. And everybody knows cult leader's crazy one, but everybody's like, "Oh my goodness, he's such a good guy. I would never fall for him." And then they get stuck in the situation, they fall for him.
Right.
Well, you put that type of thing, and now you put like a divine creature thing, demon in a box lashed onto him, ramp it up a little bit. I think it'd be crazy. If something like that could be real, it would screw history over. History would be screwed. Justice system would be screwed.
Yeah, I didn't think about that. Our entire history and what we would know would just be destroyed, because then at that point, well, I wouldn't say it would be destroyed because the people did still do the stuff they did, but it would be the demon who was controlling them to do it. So it adds just, I don't think it would screw over history, but it would more so just complex, make it a lot more complicated of what we know.
Okay. This is something that I've never heard of. We've always heard demons attaching to people, right? They make them do these bad things.
If you've never heard of it, how are you gonna talk about it?
Well,
And how are you gonna introduce it to me?
because I got a big brain. Okay.
Okay. Okay.
So the idea in this spiritual realm of heaven and hell is there's a constant fight, good versus evil, right? And that's what's going to happen in end times, revelations, the constant battle of good and evil, the yin yang, even constant good. And there's a constant battle of good and evil. And we are theorizing that demons can attach to people and influence their decisions. Could an angel attach itself to a person and influence its decisions?
That I've never thought about that, but mm, because I feel like you have two sides to that. One side is the angel attaching themselves to you and then doing good things to try and help stop the demons. And you can say like that could be like the people who go after terrorists or people who try and go after pedophiles, murder, stuff like that. But then you get the second one where it's the angels are good, as we associate them with being good, and they could think it's morally wrong to attach themselves, even though they could. So then because then you're controlling someone else when it's their life. It's not your life, it's their life. So they don't want to connect themselves to you, essentially.
Yeah. I have an interesting thought on this. Okay. So if this happens, I do, I haven't read all the Bible, so I don't know at some point does an angel attach itself to somebody and they do all these really cool things. I don't know. But I'm gonna say for this analogy, it didn't happen. Okay. So I think of it as an advisor role. Okay. So like the president would go and say, "Hey, we're about to go do some crazy stuff. Let me do a quick prayer real quick." Gabriel comes down and he says, "Hey, man, maybe not the best move. You remember that thing that says thou shalt not kill? Yeah, let's stay away from that. Let's maybe do a little peace treaty action, something like that. A lot more formal, of course, but I think it's a constant battle of good and evil. And I think the only people that the angels would give a thumb up on to go after would be pure evil. And I'll be honest, I don't know. on earth if we've seen pure evil, chaos. And that's when I think the angels would get involved if the angels were doing their thing.
Yeah, I would agree with you on that because I think going along with my second point earlier about where they would only get attached to you if or like they don't get attached to you because they think it's morally wrong, but they could just see going off like what you said that this guy, worst person ever, worst person to ever be, past, future, present,
Mao, Stalin, Hitler,
right? Like
Genghis Khan,
right, like
any of them.
top tier, horrible person. Then they could, then they would be like, oh well, that guy is pretty bad. So I guess we should go in because then we could save millions and millions of lives at that point, even though we're basically taking over someone else's life. We're still it's for the greater good of humanity. And plus that person who does save the world without because people aren't going to know that it's angels and then that person is viewed as a hero. They're going to get a lot of praise. But if he does say that it was angels, I still feel like he's going to get a lot of praise from at least half the world.
See, I'll be honest. We've had some pretty sucky people in history, or at least groups that people view very badly. Like you could have had Alexander the Great. Alexander the Great was viewed in his home country like insane, but like when he rolled through, maybe some people didn't like him so much. Genghis Khan. If you were Mongolian, you were tight. If you were Chinese, you didn't like this boy, right? So
Anything else?
right. So I I think if you have angels attaching to people or advising them to go take out people, kill them, take over people, whatever, I think it contradicts the teachings of the Bible or the teachings of most religions. Thou shalt not kill. Thou shalt, you know, whatever. Basically, live like a good person. Don't steal, don't kill, treat your neighbors right, treat people with respect. Pretty much have this inner peace. And if you have this entity, this angel, telling you, hey, bro, you see that dude over there? Yeah, he's a sucky dude. We can all agree he's a sucky, sucky guy. But yeah, I'm going to need you to go to kill him to go save 10 million people, whatever it is. Logically, human brain, it makes sense to go take out the guy. It saves a lot of people. But angel brain, I don't think they would do it. I think if there was an angel, a perfect example of something like this would be like a God. That explains. I'm not saying Gandhi had an angel in him or he was advised by angel, but the actions, the nonviolent, the way he approached it. I wouldn't say King that much, but I would say Gandhi. But I think that's and then the demon is like methodical. Like I'm not saying like Hitler. I'm gonna say like if there was a dude behind Hitler, methodical, string puller, puppeteer, like that level, not the face of it, but the level of genius that it would take to run that. I think that like a mafia boss
Mm.
or a cartel leader versus Gandhi. I think that's the polar opposites. And the only time an angel would come out is pure evil. And that is when they have the opportunity to attack a demon with not a shadow of a doubt, or to take out the devil himself. And I don't think that opportunity we have been aware of if something like that is available or has happened.
So essentially, you're saying that you think that an angel would only intervene if it has the opportunity to take out the devil itself. And if they do not have that opportunity, then they will not intervene.
As in intervene violently.
Okay.
I think they will intervene in people's lives for the better and for the betterment of humanity.
Okay.
But I still think there's free will. But I would like to hope that angels and God Himself see, maybe there's a genocide, maybe there's some really bad things, some bad treatment of people around the world, um, and maybe they can lend a hand every once in a while when they can see into the future and things will get a little bit better. and they can progress that forward. But um, I what's kind of weird is some people think God is all seeing and all knowing, right? So He knows every decision you're going to make before you even make it. So if that's the case, right? Why did He put you on the earth if you're gonna like disobey Him? You're gonna go to hell already knowing. Why doesn't He just put His favorites on the earth, let them all go to heaven, and everything's magic, right? So it gets into this weird little thing.
Mm.
And, I'm not questioning God's knowledge by any means, but it gets into this weird little topic. You have free will. I do think there's a God, but I think there's stuff we don't know. I don't think everything in the Bible is to the T, to the absolute T. Every inkling detail is perfectly correct. I don't think so. I think it's a list of stories combined over thousands of years in multiple different languages that have been altered through different leaders throughout history. And we're left with a version that has been, we can take not as it originally was intended. So maybe exaggerations or how we would take something lighthearted and we don't take it lighthearted anymore, or wordings or phrases or anything like that. So basically, what I'm getting at is the circle back to the spirit realm for a second, because that's what we talked about. I think the spirit realm, there's something there that we don't know, right? Almost every culture had a spirit realm guy who'd talk to the dead. They all had that. You can say that's a human fascination with the dead people. I think that's fair to say. And when you lose someone, you want to keep talking to them. But I do think there could be good and bad, right? There's good spirit realm and there's bad spirit realm. And could there be peop spirit realm thingies that attach to people? I think if you can prove that the spirit realm is a thing, it's factually right, it's pretty easy to say there's good and bad. I feel like that's an easy distinction, good and bad. And if there's bad, I think we can label the majority of them as demons. Okay. Maybe make that distinction. The good, maybe it's normal people, maybe it's ghosts, maybe it's dead people, maybe whatever. Maybe there's angels in there too. But it's it's a whole bunch of philosophical discussions within the spirit realm ideas that we can't really prove factually. Um, but if you could prove it, without a shadow of a doubt, that it's real, it's legit. Think about the daily lives of people would change. Religion would automatically be number one thing search on Google immediately. There's an afterlife, some form of an afterlife is real immediately.
And then too, if you're gonna be able to communicate with them at all, like you're gonna know exactly what it's like after you die. You're gonna know exactly what it would be like to get into the good spirit realm. And I feel like what you're gonna see is a lot of people are gonna try and look that up. Like you said, it's gonna be the number one word, number one search thing. But then you're also gonna find a lot of like blogs or just like news reporting, just being like top 10 things to get into the good spirit realm, just trying to then make money on that.
Yeah.
You know, I feel like that's a little bad part of the humanity that they're just trying to capitalize on that. But it that it's what's gonna happen because if you can prove that what happens after this life that we know or 100% fact for how to go one place or the other, everyone's gonna be trying to get to that good one, even if they're a bad person.
Okay. Let's play the game for a second. So you don't have to prove any religion's real. You don't have to prove Buddha. You don't have to prove Jesus came. You don't have to prove Muhammad, any of it. All you have to prove is that once you die, there's something else. That's it. All you got to prove. How would you go about it? And how would you try to convey it to 7 billion people all different intelligent levels, different languages, all across the world. How would you convey it to them to make them believe what you found?
So that would be very hard if to gain footing at first, because
Let's say you're the president of the US. You have the ability to convey this message.
okay, so whatever political party I am, I got at least probably a third, a quarter of that party that is just gonna blindly follow me because that is how politics are. And then but other than that, to gain footing is going to be the hardest thing. Because also with that politics thing, the other party, probably a quarter or a third, is gonna be strongly against me.
Blindly hate you.
Exactly. And so, basically, it's gonna be very hard to start off because as many people may know, if you get into an argument with someone, say I'm a Democrat, Q here is a Republican, and we start arguing about politics, we're not going to change each other's minds. We're just going to double down on what we have. And it makes it bad. So if you're arguing someone's religion, you're essentially challenging someone's religion, arguing against them. Even though you're not particularly doing that because you haven't mentioned religion, I think that's how most people are going to take it.
Oh, 100%.
Because spirit, your life after this life is always associated with religion. So people are going to take it as you're attacking their religion, you're attacking them, and then it just turns into a shit show. Honestly, it
Just think about this for a second. Imagine you say a demon's real, an angel's real, reincarnation goes freaking out the window. You just like screwed over half the world.
probably honestly just screwed over a little bit more than half the world saying.
Yeah.
Because if you're saying specifically a devil and an angel, I think most of the world associates that with Christianity.
Well, uh, a lot, you could just say good and bad entities can affect whatever. So there's going to be religions that get ruled out immediately, right? But I'll tell you how I would try to convey it to the world. So first off, you got to find evidence. You got to find proof, right? For me, it's a little flashlight thing. Well, let's say you can't do the flashlight thing in front of 7 billion people, right? You might can do it every once. Like you can say, all right, 30 people come in this room, we're gonna do it. You set down a flashlight, you check it out, it's legit.
Right, but that just creates a logistical problem with just 7 billion, 8 billion people, whatever we're at now. It just creates a logistical problem because then you're doing it hundreds and hundreds of millions of times.
Yeah. And I think this is where religion comes on. That's when you just get on the idea of faith, right? That is the whole selling point of all the religions. You have to have a bit of faith when you can't have facts and proof. So, how do you convey the idea that a spirit realm is real if you're able to prove it to yourself? To 7 billion, 8 billion people, and you can't rely on faith. You can't send out a video because they're going to say the video's doctor. And religion would be the answer, right? That's how it's been working for however long human history has been a thing. That makes sense. But I, I don't know how I would do it on such a scale. Right? I think I could do a lot of people, like a lot, like 100,000 people, and convey them and get them to strongly believe if I would be able to prove it myself. Like I'm not completely sold on it yet. Like not definite, but like 10 being completely sold. I was like I'm like a 6.5, 6.5, slightly above average. It would just need that little bit over to get me to a 10. That there is. I'm not saying like religion's not real. I'm talking like the spirit realm interacting with Earth. That's the distinction I'm making. That is real or not. And it would take me to get to the 10, and I think I could like do a whole state of people, freaking Rhode Island or somewhere like in the middle of Timbuktu, and I can get all those people to believe. But to get an entire world to believe, I think that's nearly impossible.
I'm gonna be with you. I feel like it's highly, highly improbable and extremely unlikely for someone to convince, like, even just like 50% of the world. If you're not going through religion, you have nearly no grounds for it. You'll be able to get some just by showing a few people and those few people telling their friends, maybe their friends truly believe them and everything that they say. But you, if you're not going through religion, you have no, no evidence. Even if you can find 100% evidence and can recreate it whenever you want, I still don't think you're gonna be able to.
What I think would be interesting is I think there's two ways you approach this: scientific, religion. Only two ways you can approach it, and you automatically cut out the hardcore. Right? You mention religion, hardcore science out the window. They're not listening to you. You go science route, hardcore religions, not listening. So you're not getting 100% of the world. It's never going to happen. But this is where I think you get the majority of the world. Right? Let's say you have a box, whatever. The Dybbuk box thing we're talking about with the pedophiles. Right? Say we have it. Every time you somehow get some MIT scientists. Again, if I had the money for MIT scientists, I would do this. I internship MIT scientists. Here we go. This would be really sick. Okay, we find some enclosed box that has nothing that can come in or out. Right, you can't get air, you can't get light, whatever. Completely controlled environment in the space. We put the guy in there. We have everything we can measure that is possible, from gravity to UV rays to energy levels. Everything you can measure in this room is measurable. Temperature, the whole thing. Everything's normal for hours. And he opened a box and crap goes insane. Every time the box opens, crap hits the fan. And you can recreate it on such a high level every time. And you can open another box just like it that looks the same, but it doesn't have the so-called demon in it. And I think that is how you get the science people. At least start the conversation of something's going weird. But I think you could talk about the religious aspect and kind of bring it into it. I think you could naturally transition. Um, but I think the science crowd is the hard one to get. That's the hard one.
The science is gonna definitely be the hardest route because I feel like just logistically, it's insanely hard because you have to have the people, you have to have the money, you have to have the equipment. Literally everything that you have to have has to be on such a massive scale. It is going to be stupid hard. It's gonna be like a guy when he wakes up. Like it's gonna be dumb hard. But I do like that idea of trying to get science to measure it. But what happens if it doesn't happen directly when the box is open? Like maybe you open the box, say the demon comes out, you get a little spike. But then what happens if the demon does nothing? Or do you think the demon is 100% going to do something then?
I I don't think it's gonna know it's being probably measured or something weird, right? So my thought is if you have a controlled room for days, months, years, and everything has never changed in this room, it's perfect, perfection, everything about it. But just one little thing, as soon as you do this one instance, something happens, right? And I'm all about like, let's try a different thing, try an Ouija board, try whatever, try it out. But what I'd like to do is I'd like to go to one of these haunted places, and I'd like to bring an arsenal of gear. Okay. So supposedly there's this theory going out that these ghosts, entities, good, bad, indifferent, take the energy from devices, like phones and computers, and they steal that energy to, uh, you could say, interact, you could say live. I don't really know, but they take energy from devices. Well, why don't we just bring some car batteries? Like, bring car batteries, like 10 of them. and then try to do all what like Ghost Hunter does and does all the stuff and see if you get more stuff. I don't know if it'd work. I think it'd be something and have like some MIT scientists, like the top tier scientists, engineers you can find and have them try to debunk everything. If they can debunk it, word. Awesome. But if you can't, then that's when the conversation starts. This is what I like to take the best ghost hunters the world has ever seen. Right? So there's these I forgot their names, but they did Annabelle and all like the Annabelle doll. Familiar with the Annabelle doll?
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
I am, but tell everyone else just in case they don't know and they live under a rock.
okay. Oh, it's the Lorraines. So that's their last name. But what 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 they did is they were like these ghost hunter people and they went and took haunted items and put it in like a museum. Well, Annabelle made a movie about it. There's a doll supposedly had like a attachment to it and some and ended up, causing people to die because they threatened the doll and all that fun stuff. Watch the movie. I haven't seen it, but the story's cool. Anyway, so let's say we take people like them who 100% believe in it, actively do it on a high level. And then we take people who don't think it's real at all. Let's take like Albert Einstein and like all the other scientists that's ever existed, and let's put them in a room. Both sides. The ghost people create the best environment possible for it to happen. Just something to happen. Anything can happen. Just something. And all the jobs of the scientist is to disprove and to measure what happened. That's it. I think you would have an interesting conversation that comes out something like that.
It would definitely be very interesting. I like where you're going with that. I I think that's the only way because if you can prove scientifically that you're 100% correct, that would be the only way to gain most of the world's population onto your side and that they're 100% real as you may have just proven. But I do I know I already said that, but I do like that idea because I forgot where I was at now.
Okay, but I'll pick back up. They did something similar to it with Skinwalker Ranch, right? A lot of anomalies happening there, from paranormal to aliens to Native American curses, all happened on this land, and people were believing it for a long time. And then they started bringing in scientists and skeptics, and they at least heard the conversation that something scientifically is weird. I think one that you can start it off with. I think you can start it off with hallucinogens, like the things that make you trip. So there's this thing where people dream or they take these hallucinogens and they see the same things as other people, and they may depict the same thing or scenario that happens. Right? We'll just go dreams for now. Like everybody sees this one guy in their dream, like 10,000 people. Is there a scientific thing about that, or is it a coincidence? Or people take this hallucinogens in the middle of the Amazon and like no matter where you are in the world, everybody sees this similar thing. I mean, that's an easy way to transition from that, which would be a cool study, right? I think that would be really interesting. And then you can slowly transition, get like some backing, and then start opening David boxes in a room with a pedophile. And I think that's how you transition into some crazy stuff like that. But uh, what's your overall thoughts? Like, if you had to put money on the table today, money on the table, is there something, let's just say, is there a realm on Earth of people or entities that some people have communicated with that we don't fully understand?
I'm gonna say I'm probably like 99.9% that there is something going on that we just don't understand. Because I know I said that I was skeptical in the beginning, but that skepticism is more just believing people's stories rather than there's something that we just aren't sure of. Because as you guys know, as of our other episodes that we have done, our other podcasts, I am always like almost 100% on the most random thing. And I'm same with this. I'm nearly like 100% that there is something going on that we just don't understand. We just can't wrap our little brains around it. But it's just all the stories that people start saying, trying to gain fame, their 15 minutes of fame, if you will. But 100%, almost 100%, there is something going on that we don't understand.
Yeah. I think 100% there's stuff we don't completely understand. And even if it was like 0.01 occurrence, it still happened. Um, but I think we covered this topic really well. And I'm gonna let B here wrap it up for us.
All right, guys. As Q said, I think we covered this topic really well, but we still went on some weird, stupid tangents. So if you didn't make it this far, thank you. You're a G. You're a beautiful person. And if you hit that like and subscribe button, you can not only be beautiful, but you can be gorgeous. All right. And so I think we did cover it really well, as I just said, but let us know what you guys thought of it because we are always just trying to improve our podcast, especially in this early stage. Let us know what you guys think about either like quality, what we talk about, if you want us to go more in depth with our random tangents we do, or we can even do just a full episode on some of the random tangents that we go on. We will talk about anything and everything that you guys want. Does not matter what it is. We will give our quote unquote intellectual thoughts and opinions on anything. So really let us know either in the comments or go to our Instagram page. I do my best to see what you guys say on there. So keep doing it. Keep it up. And whenever time you're viewing, you listen to this, morning, afternoon, night, have a beautiful rest of your day or night or whatever. Thank you guys so much. And we'll see you in the next one.